Welcome, everyone. Happy Monday. I'm the Grace Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Monday, September 22nd, 2025. What do we have coming through in the cards for today? First two cards in our 5-card spread for today. Ooh, Two of Swords, Three of Pentacles. Yeah, this is Libra energy coming in. We're kind of like we're a little bit ahead in terms of this Libra energy right now. And the reason that we're currently a little bit ahead with this Libra energy is given the fact that Mercury is already in Libra. So the desire to create, working through the space by which we are trying to find and identify balance right now, the one benefit that we're potentially going to have now that we're kind of moving out of this eclipse process is things may start feeling like they're balancing out again. Now, one of the things to pay a lot of intention towards has to do, and I need to stress this right now, I'm sometimes get more concerned with the energy after an eclipse than when we are in the eclipse proper, okay? Because I like to describe it, and the reason I describe this, and we often see this even in the context of full moon energy, sometimes coming out of a full moon is harder than being in it because there's the amplification of energy that we experience when the moon is becoming full. There is the amplification of energy that we often experience as we're going through that eclipse process. And then when the eclipse process starts to go away, it can create a little bit of a feeling of an energetic sink, as it were, right? Like it's like, it's like, it's like it brings you back down. It's like the elevator going down real quick, So it can create a little bit of it can create a little bit of feelings of exhaustion, of tiredness. I also can, and like this is why I often will tell you guys during eclipse processes, it's not about not talking about your feelings, but being very fortified in the feelings that you're expressing, right? Because sometimes like the tendency that we often recognize that occurs in eclipse cycles is feeling an over emotionality of feelings on something that isn't necessarily super important. But that's why, and like this is why, like I got to tell you right now, that's why big things have a tendency of happening during eclipses, right? Because either it's predicated on doing something in a big way, or it's predicated on doing something like making a big deal out of something that wasn't energetically significant or necessary, right? It's like working through a lot of that over proportionality. Now, the one thing I'll tell you, and this is giving me more indications that the cycles that we're currently seeing right now that are coming into union are moon partnerships, because this is a lot of groundedness. This is a lot of energetic balance. This is a lot of working into the space on what it takes to feel and to be energetically grounded. It's not easy, right? It's often like it's giving me the message like grounding is something that we make for ourselves. And that's why often when we look for balance outside of the self, we can often feel or experience that emotional vertigo within because we don't have the effective control outside. And that's why we were also talking about like one of the things that we were speaking a lot about during this eclipse process had to do with understanding what the call of perfect is. We were going through the reason that there was so much of that work here has to do with the fact that a lot of the anomalies that we were seeing that were going through this eclipse, one of the other ones we were identifying had to do with the fact that Mercury was also in Virgo during Virgo season. It just moved out of Libra a couple of days ago. It just moved into Libra a couple of days ago. And those with Virgo placements often come here specifically to heal their connection to perfection, right? When we have perfection within us, it often feels like we're falling short of it perpetually, right? It's the feeling that the gift, and this is what we have to think about, the ability to see perfection within. When we identify that as a calling, then we look towards the world around us with the aspiration or the hope of being able to make something energetically better. But when we are like, but when we hold on to perfection to such an extent that we're rigid in it, right? We see that everything feels like it's in violation of the perfection that we can observe within the self, then we often experience what can only best be described as misery, right? Because nothing can ever be energetically perfect. Perfect is not something that is found. It is something that is made. And so the ability to like work towards perfection while also understanding that what happens outside of the self doesn't ruin our perception of perfection, but in a way often perfects it even more, right? I feel like there's a lot of the work that we identify in this eclipse season that was also going through a retrograde, which is it's like it's working through how one hopes, like it's working through the desires of what one is hoping to energetically achieve while holding a point of energetic catharsis in relationality to what one is aspiring to desire, or how one is able to bring it into being, as it were. Now, the reason I keep on seeing this for a lot of the energy and separation, this is giving me further context. Remember, I said, I literally, before I started the podcast today, I said it feels like 3 going into 2. And so that's why I was laughing when I saw the 3 of Pentacles coming up with the 2 of Swords being the first 2 cards that we pulled. Because the 3 different modalities that I'm identifying right now in separation have to do, all right, I'm going to just walk you guys through this again. It's not the fact that there isn't some energy of resolution here. It's not the fact that there isn't some energy of resolution here. There is some energy of resolution that may be occurring in this type of energetic vibration. I'm going to tell you exactly what that vibration is, though. Situations, potentially resolutions that are happening on situations that occurred during another eclipse cycle. Because why? Because often what happens during eclipse cycles, we take something marginal, not important, we make a big deal out of it because we're in our feels, right? This is what time can heal. Because as we heal, and as we move out of dispassion into compassion, because that's what happens as we continue through time, right? Not the ability of feeling like one is controlled by the emotions, right? But able to ascertain and assess the emotions that feel like they're energetically valid in terms of whether the work needs to be done outside or within. This often creates the space by which we can heal something, because it's the observation of what we could do in a better way. It's the observation of something that we were trying to articulate upon, or trying to identify doing in a greater fashion. What time cannot heal are situations or circumstances wherein another person, when we hold an energetic standard, and when it feels like that energetic standard is being violated, and then another person moves away from us at the time that we feel energetically emotional about it. This is why I kept on hearing, if these were situations during this eclipse retrograde cycle where someone came back and said, "Are you done feeling that way?" The energy is almost saying, "I'm not done feeling that way. I've prepared a lecture. I prepared a whole explanation as to why it was so important," right? Because this is what we mean with time healing things. Time does not heal things by making things fade. Time heals by making the foundation more strong, and the things that feel irrelevant are often the things that we feel a lot of energetic regret for, because it's something that we could have done in a better way. So that's why we keep on seeing that for a lot of the energy doing that work right now, there may be a lot of catharsis that's coming through in relationality and the form of building into a space of resolution, feeling energetically resolved as it relates to working through something and being able to identify and recognize what one is trying to do in a better fashion, what one is trying to heal upon, what one is, and I keep on hearing, it is the articulation of that feels like it is, I keep on hearing that feels like it is something that allows one to be able to speak upon it. This brings us to the energy. And now this is why I kept on seeing that these new relationships that are coming together right now, there's a lot of trepidation there. Center card for today's spread. Yeah, there it is. Look at that Six of Cups in its reversal. Why are we seeing the Six of Cups in its reversal there? Because when we see the Six of Cups in its reversal, you know, the conversation that we effectively identify has to do with the observation of what we are effectively able to navigate from a point of compassion. And again, it's the further resolution that we were talking about during this retrograde cycle with the eclipse on top of it, which is speaking towards the fact that compassion does not require one to be nice about everything, right? Compassion isn't the space by which we energetically smooth things over. And this is why, and I keep on seeing, like, this is often why in experiences or circumstances like this, I keep on seeing, like, this is, and I keep on hearing, like, the space by which we navigate each other's hurt can often be most accurately espoused by silence, because I keep on seeing, like, the space by which we try to fix something, the space by which we try to energetically resolve something. It's saying to me, it's more of the message that we often get when we're working through Libra lessons. And I'm going to tell you right now, these Libra lessons are going to feel a lot like those temperance lessons that we just moved away from, which is the ability to progress forward on something. It's the understanding that an apology is a two-part process. It is the space by which we take energetic accountability for things, and then we talk upon and we expound upon how we are trying to do something in a better way. It is the articulation and the definition of the apology that makes the apology one worth receiving. The articulation of an apology is only half the work. The definition of the apology is the space by which we define what the apology means by what we are doing to work to amend it, either within the self or outside of the self. So everything we keep on seeing, and that's what I meant about this. I've got energy and separation that's working on healing from situations and circumstances where another person potentially tried to come back to them during this retrograde space and try to smooth something out instead of work it out, right? And this is why we keep on seeing smoothing things out instead of working them out doesn't effectively get us very far, because it doesn't allow the space by which something is energetically resolved. While simultaneously, these new partnerships that are coming together are healing in recognition, and they're moving towards each other cautiously, carrying wounds in relationality to another person's self-deception. And sometimes the wounds of self-deception are the hardest to heal from. They often create wariness in us, even in the space by which another person is coming towards us from a place of authenticity. Because this is why we talk about the reason we do our shadow work effectively. Why do you think you do your shadow work? We do our shadow work to understand our energetic aversions so that we don't sabotage ourselves, so that we don't articulate that we desire something, and then when it comes towards us, we move in the opposite direction. That is the difference. And this is why we talk about the journey of a healthy manifestation. It's not just enough to want something. You got to do the work to understand the self, to understand why you want it, to understand what it effectively means to you. Because again, if the space, and this is often what happens, like this is the misconception that often happens with those who have not done the work of understanding the self properly. Manifestations don't change us. You can get the thing you energetically want to manifest, but if you're not happy, you're going to be in that modality and you're going to still be energetically unhappy. It doesn't change the context by which we find it. Right? And this is why we talk a lot about the space, that even in the space by which we heal perfect, the space by which we heal perfect is the space by which we understand that that is the ability of the adaptability that we bring to circumstances or situations, to understand that even as we move towards a manifestation, it may not appear the way that we expect it to appear. And so this is what's so beautiful. And this is the reason I'm saying this right now is you'll remember we were talking about those temperance relationships. And those temperance relationships are now expounding. I keep on hearing they're expounding upon the fact. And I don't even know if they revealed this to one another prior to this point, that they had kind of abandoned hope in ever finding one another before they effectively found one another. That it was like, I keep on hearing like the energy is almost talking to each other, how they went through a release process. They like went through an emotional release process. They let go, because what happens when we give up, and this is why we talk about warrior energy, giving up isn't giving up. It's letting go of the energetic preconception, right? Because when we have preconceptions, we miss gifts. When we have preconceptions, we miss the gifts that are before us. So one of the ways that we work to be able to work towards a manifestation is not approaching manifestations with preconceptions, but with an identification of what we're energetically seeking. And that's why the way we refine a manifestation goal is by understanding the self best. Because when we understand the self best, then we're able to see the manifestation that is unfolding around us. And that's why we keep on seeing that, like for a lot of those relationships, I keep on seeing that this is the energy that's almost telling each other how they're arriving to the understanding that they're discovering the manifestation goal in one another, right? And it's almost like the energy that understands that as they release the preconception, then more and more they could see, like as they release the preconception of what they thought was for them, more and more before them was the thing that they have always been looking for. Continuing to get clarification between our 4th and 5th cards in our 5-card spread. We've got here the Hermit card in combination with the 4 of Swords in its reversal. Man, this Hermit card, dude. I'm just sorry. We've already got the other card out next. This Hermit card has been coming out a lot during this period. I'm not surprised to see it. There's a very strong affiliation to Virgo cycles in the Hermit card. And this is, and it has a lot to do, and one of the things that we effectively see in relationality to the Hermit card is, and how do I describe this best? And this is what's happened. The Hermit card's coming out right now specifically for those magician partnerships that I spoke to you about. Because for a lot of those magician partnerships, remember how I said, and for the purposes of our reading, the magician partnerships were coming together from about the time of the solstice period up until the time of Mercury and Venus stationing direct behind Neptune. I keep on hearing a lot of these. I hear a lot of these magician partnerships going, I can't believe this is happening. And the reason they're saying, I can't believe this is happening, is because they're having a deja vu moment in partnership. What is the deja vu moment that they're having in partnership? They are centering the relationship in a way that they never have before. I keep on hearing that a lot of these magician partnerships, they've been with people before. They've been in relationships before, but I keep on hearing, but not like this. Is what I keep on hearing. Not like this. And the not like this is the energetic centering of partnership. It is the centering by which one feels like the force by which one is moving into energetic union. It's not the space by which they feel like they're orbiting each other. It feels like they're creating that energetic force together. And when we energetically create that force together in partnership, it has an effect on relationships outside of partnership, for better frequently, but also, and this is the hard part about it, sometimes for worse. And I keep on seeing that this is the energy that is learning the experience of what it feels like to be within a partnership that they know is the best thing for them, but potentially experiencing weird energy outside a partnership that seems to have a problem with their joy. And often we experience that in maturation processes. When we're going through something that feels like a celebration and another person is ruminating on our joy, it's the observation of something that we cannot fix. Because we can't, it's like you can't, I keep on seeing the energy say the understanding of potentially even talking to someone and saying, what's wrong? and them saying nothing, and then they're nothing containing everything, which is why I keep on hearing these relationships are making friends with Saturn. They're making friends with Saturn because they remember a time. They remember a time that they too were also feeling that way. That's the worst part about it. They're talking to each other about what they can see, but they can't talk to the energy outside of partnership about it because you can't force a maturation without causing trauma or potentially making something worse. So that's why we keep on seeing that for a lot of those relationships and a lot of those energies, I keep on seeing they're handing it to Saturn. They're literally handing it to Saturn and saying, do your work. It's funny because they're not handing it to Saturn and saying, do your worst. They're handing it to Saturn and they're saying, do your work, do what you do so well, which is bring wisdom into situations via V perception. Continuing to get clarification for the energy and separation again between our Two of Swords and our Three of Pentacles. There's that 10 of Cups in its reversal. All these cards, I got to tell you, all the cards in the second row right now have been coming from the bottom of the deck. I'm not surprised to see that. Pluto's in retrograde. I told you, these are moon partnerships that are coming together. Further confirmation of the fact that these are effectively moon partnerships because a lot of these cards are coming from the bottom of the deck. It's not ideal, right? This is what we keep on seeing that's happening right now. And you know what's wild too? You know, it's wild for a lot of this energy and separation right now. What's interesting about a lot of the energy in separation, it's funny, I'm getting like, it's weaving energy is what I'm getting, which is I keep on hearing perfect is what we make from less than ideal situations, right? It's the ability, I keep on hearing, it's the ability to, bring something together is what I keep on seeing. It's the ability, like I keep on seeing, like working through something and identifying and working to energetically perfect it. And I keep on seeing that for a lot of those relationships, either the energy in separation. Okay, so there's three different things that I'm seeing that's happening right now in separation. And we always get more complicated whenever we start cycles in terms of what's happening in separation because there's a lot of moving parts. And again, I'm also not surprised to see this because I've been seeing even now during this eclipse cycle, a lot of like heavy closing out of energetic cycles. So the first thing that we're effectively seeing right now in relationality to the energy and separation is I do see the fact that there is some restoration that's happening here. There are some situations where there is a restoration that is energetically occurring. And I keep on getting that the space by which those restorations or resolutions are occurring have to do with the gift of someone articulating to another the over proportionality that they brought to something that was not important, right? I just keep on saying it's the energetic density. It is the energetic heaviness that then refines upon something that does not feel like it was all like it's like in the space. And this is what happens, like time, and this is why we talk about why moving dispassionately is so dangerous to the journey of the self, right? Because when we do something that doesn't have any sense, but just feels sweet in the moment, it is bitter for the rest of our energetic existence. Like that is what is so dangerous about being too deep within one's own egoic journey, right? It's the space by which we understand the sweetness of things that turns energetically sour, right? And I keep on seeing that is why it is so important. And like we were talking a lot about the space by which we understand virtue. What is virtue? But understanding that we don't do things for the sake of them being energetically sweet, right? That's what's interesting about virtue. It has to do with the fortification process by which we understand the space by which something just feels good because the ego relishes in it, is often the part of the ego that we have to heal. Because the ego, you have to understand, the ego is effectively the I like to describe it as like the defense mechanism of the soul, right? And when the ego is working harmoniously with the self, then what we experience from the ego is relevant and necessary, and it carries the shape of who we are, right? It's our armor. It matches us. It moves with us. It energetically protects with us. It energetically protects us, but not too much, because it allows us to be able to see through it. But this is why, like when we get too much in our egoic space and we start doing things not because they are good, but because they feel sweet, then often that bitterness, that turns bitter very energetically quickly. Because when we do things that are energetically sweet to the ego, they're often dispassionate because they often lack energetic empathy. So that's what I keep on seeing in relationality to a lot of the work that we're effectively identifying and discovering here. And that's why I keep on seeing that in the space by which there is some healthy resolution that's happening in some of the energy and separation, it's almost giving me conversations of someone saying, I've had a lot of time to think about things, right? It's like somebody who's trying to articulate like the full process by which they're working to resolve something. Now that's a very small proportion. What I also see is a lot of energy working on healing on quite the opposite there. Because what cannot be healed by the context of time are spaces or places where another person refuses to take accountability for something, but instead expects us to go energetically numb. And this is often why time helps us heal in those capacities, but it doesn't require us to go numb, because you have to understand that numbness, and this is why we talk about it, the difference between being virtuous and the difference between being numb is the difference between another person that says, I know you have strong feelings about that, get used to it. Right? Like, just get used to it, right? Become a nerd to the fact that you have feelings. Just become stone. Versus what stoicism is, which is being able to do something that isn't easy, but knowing that it is best for the self in order to honor the emotions that we energetically carry. And so for a lot of the energy doing that work, I keep on hearing that a lot of the energy in separation is healing on stoic lessons, which is potentially experiencing something through this retrograde, something that the past self would have found sweet, but the present self finds upsetting, right? It's the observation, because when we experience something that would have felt energetically sweet, but feels like it's more the space of trying to smooth something out instead of being able to do the work to effectively navigate a situation. I keep on seeing that for a lot of those relationships, there's some really, really deep healing that's happening there. But it's coming through the space of recognizing something that feels like it is energetically saccharine. And what is energetically saccharine? Something that is meant to effectively distract from the circumstance, rather than energetically taking care or navigating through some kind of energetic point of harm. And so that's why I keep on seeing that the energy is in separation, almost honoring the self and holding a state of catharsis by articulating to the self and saying, I am making better choices now. This brings us to the energy that's coming together. And this is why these relationships that are coming together right now are all tippy toes. Why are they so tippy toes? They're not, and I keep on hearing, they're not dancing around each other, right? They're tippy toes because these are relationships that have been hurt by another person's self-deception. And what's so hard when we're healing from another person's self-deception is the wound that another person causes us because they didn't know themselves effectively. Those are sometimes the most frustrating, because it's the space by which we understand that it's our responsibility, in order to prevent trauma, to do our shadow work properly. Because when we're doing our shadow work, which means we experience and understand our own aversions, and this is even what we understand here, sometimes in the space of understanding our own aversions is understanding that as my throat chakra is like locking up, it's understanding that sometimes we have manifestation goals that that aren't actually there are things that, and I like to point this out, this is important. There are things that we aspire to and things that we desire. And the things that we aspire to aren't always the same as the things that we desire. And that understanding of the self, like working through the tiers of the self, right? Working through things that you understand you would like to be, but that you're not. This is a lot of the understanding and recognition of one's higher purpose or higher calling. And a lot of that work is often either a unification process, right? Being able to understand and identify what it is that you're energetically trying to do, right? Sometimes it's like a combination of things. It's also a letting go, right? It's understanding and recognizing what one is moving further away from. So for a lot of the energy doing this work right now, it's very interesting because it's the comprehension of one's own purpose. And now you've got a bunch of energy and separation going through a comprehension of one's own purpose, and they're having trepidation and building an energetic connection to see if another shares the same understanding of self in the process in order to avoid getting hurt. Clarification between our 3 of Pentacles and our 6 of Cups. In reversal, there's that 5 of Swords in its reversal. The Temperance relationships. Temperance relationships, I just keep on seeing right now. This is like I'm giving you the full story. They're getting the whole story now. They weren't telling each other the full story before. I keep on saying it's not. I keep on hearing. I feel like there's something about the temperance relationships that I keep on hearing them say. It wasn't that they weren't telling each other the full story. They were sparing the details, is what I keep on hearing. And what's interesting about this is, why do we see that those temperance relationships are telling each other that they're articulating upon the energetic details? Because I keep on seeing, like, the thing about these temperance relationships that I keep on seeing is they went through some stuff. Okay. They went through some stuff. And I almost see the energy like holding this baggage. And I keep on saying, like, remember when I said they're temperance relationships? And so these temperance relationships were working on holding the energetic baggage. And what were they saying to each other? I keep on hearing the energy that was like apologizing and saying, I wasn't holding back. It's just a lot, which is the space by which and I keep on saying, they're not saying that to another person in relationality to what they're receiving. They're saying that as a point of concession as to why they're expounding upon something deeper now. Because I keep on seeing that this is the energy that, again, they're temperance relationships. They're saying to each other, I didn't want to overwhelm you, right? That's what the temperance relationships say. I didn't want to overwhelm you, because they're trying, like, I keep on seeing, like, these are like these temperance relationships. They're like, I keep on saying, like, these are like the temperance relationships that are like the load bearing device of partnership, you know? Continuing to get clarification here between our 6 of Cups in its reversal in combination with our Hermit in its upright. Energy deep within divine union is also going through temperance relationships, like lessons right now, but this is different. This is exactly confirmation and relationality to them healing their relationship to time, right? Like this is them healing their relationship to time. Time's got the wings on it here, because it's the space by which they I keep on seeing this has happened to them before. They've never, when they keep on saying, they're saying, and what's wild about it is they're saying to each other, I've seen this, but never on the inside. And what do I mean by them saying, I've seen this, but never on the inside? This is potentially energy that remembers being in separation, that sees energy in union growing, like putting more attention into partnership and seeing energy outside of partnership, looking at that with a point of contention. And this is why I keep on seeing that the energy looks at something and like throws their hands up, because when you're having that moment, wisdom can't intervene in another person's experience of understanding something. And so it's the energy that knows they'll get there eventually, right? Like that's the energy that says they'll get there eventually. So what are these relationships doing? They're not trying to force conversations. They're not trying to take something that feels energetically disruptive and deepen and take a wound that time could potentially heal and create an injury that creates a limitation in terms of that. So I keep on seeing that for a lot of the energy doing that work, like I can hear the energy, like I keep on, like the energy coming, the temperance relationships are saying it's a lot, and the energy deep within divine union is saying they'll get there in time. Right? Like that's how they're supporting each other, continuing to get clarification back into the energy and separation between our Hermit card and that Four of Swords in its reversal. Ooh, five of Pentacles in its upright. Make sure that you take a moment to look at today's spread if you're heading over to the stack where we'll have a photo of it. This second spread is like, it's apology energy. This second spread. This second spread is I owe you an apology. You know? Like this is some of that this is some of that heavy energy there. These cards. The only card upright is the Temperance card. But that's what I meant. That's why, again, I was articulating heavily about the fact that we don't, like, when we don't do things over proportionally in relationality to going through these eclipse cycles, right? We allow for and it's not the fact that you can't do something, but making sure that you're energetically intentional in relationality to what one does. Clarification between our 10 of Cups in its reversal and our 5 of Swords in its reversal. Ooh, we got our 3. We've got our 3 of Cups in its upright. So the thing about, I want to describe that when I'm seeing, like, and remember when I keep on, there's heavy 3s in this reading today. And this is what I meant about the energy right now. There's a little bit of, how do I describe this right now? There's a little bit of fragmentation that's happening for the energy in separation. But I feel like it's positive fragmentation is what I keep on seeing, because I keep on hearing it's the fragmentation upon something that, how do I describe this best? It's the fragmentation upon something that allows, and we're going to see this a lot as we're going through Uranus in Gemini. Uranus in Gemini is all about working through nuance. It's all about understanding and recognizing what that energetic force of power is, and the ability to identify the difference between things. And this is why I see something in the energy in separation, working through situations on case-by-case basis. And that's why, and what's interesting about it, and I keep on hearing, this is why we don't take carte blanche approaches to things, right? We don't make a single, like, this is why often we don't, and this is often why we don't operate in terms of like unifying rules. We often deal in standards, because when we work through the context of understanding, and we're gonna talk about this heavily as we move into Libra energy. Balance is not found by the distribution of something to one another. It's not the same, right? Because you give a lot of something to one person and it may feel like an energetic overwhelm. You give the same amount to another person, it doesn't feel like there's enough. The ability to understand and recognize what feels energetically beneficial versus what feels energetically overwhelming has a lot to do with the framework by which we are effectively able to navigate and address things. So one of the things I keep on seeing that's happening right now for energy, and I don't know where this is coming from, for the energy and separation, it has to do with, I keep on saying, and this is what I mean. Often when energy starts comparing relationships to one another, it can often be the fundamental ending of a relationship. And why can it often be the fundamental ending of a relationship when another person starts being comparative upon our relationship, right? From how we experience something, from how another person receives it. Because it's the observation that in partnership, I keep on hearing it's about standards, not demands, right? And this is often why when we have those, and I got to stress, there's something very important that's coming through right now in relationality to the difference between a friendship and a divine union, is what I keep on hearing. There's a deep, deep nuanced conversation that's happening between the difference between a friendship and a divine union. Because a friendship, I keep on hearing, the beauty of an energetic friendship is one, that it understands that the pathwork of friendship is one that exists in the space that we're not consistently centering ourselves in each other's relationships. It's the space by which I keep on hearing, the delightful orbit of a healthy friendship is one that you understand, that is one that like you pass each other. Like I keep on hearing, like the delightful orbit of a healthy friendship is the space by which you understand that you pass one another as you are energetically orbiting around things, right? It's not the space by which you demand to be in the energetic center of something. And this is why I keep on hearing friendships are delightful orbits, because it's a delight to energetically orbit with someone that you hold a good friendship with, because it feels energetically proportional. This is often what happens too in relationality to the fragmentation of friendship, because when we have too much of a space where energy wants to center rather than energetically orbit, it can create a lot of confusion, particularly if we're in energetic partnership. So that's why we keep on seeing that for a lot of those, I keep on getting for a lot of those relationships, and the reason that this is coming through is this is the message that's coming, like this is the lesson that's coming through right now for the magician partnerships that are going into divine union, right? They're experiencing that, and often, and this is sometimes what happens. Are we having an alignment day? It feels like an alignment day. I gotta check. Yeah, we've got because we're coming out of the eclipse, there's it's a bit of an alignment day in relationality to like this message that's kind of like moving straight through all of the frequencies, which is like the space by which I keep on hearing the healthy centering, the centering of partnership and the healthy orbiting of friendships. It's the space by which we understand that we're working through the energetic difference. And I'm going to tell you right now, I feel like the reason that this may be coming through right now in separation is there's some energy in separation that is potentially healing from circumstances with relationships that did not want to stop decentering friendships, that was preventing them from being able to go into partnership. There's potentially, I see some situations here, right? And this is what I keep on hearing. You can't ask for both. You can't say that you want a healthy partnership. This was coming through in yesterday's reading. You can't say that you want a healthy partnership and then see someone giving you attention and say that they're being needy, right? You can't say that you want to you can't say that you want a healthy union, and then when there's something coming towards you that requires that work, say that it feels like it's too much of an energetic burden. The centering that we bring into partnership is the space by which we move towards it joyfully. We don't shirk away from it. But I keep on hearing sometimes that shirking, right? That sense of feeling the energetic shirk in relationality to experiencing something, right? The space by which we understand that. I just keep on seeing that for a lot of the energy doing that work, it's the observation and the energetic recognition that is often indicative of some, and like keep on hearing, it's still a fear of commitment if you're not willing to deprioritize friendship in the journey of moving into energetic partnership. Like that is, I keep on hearing, that is still a commitment issue, because you have to understand a commitment issue is not the problem of having a lack of commitment. A commitment issue has to do with what you are committed upon. So I keep on seeing that that is something that that's very fundamental that's occurring, or some kind of conversation that may be occurring in the space of some of the energy and separation. Continuing through as well, I keep on seeing that for some of this energy that's moving deeper into union right now. And this is why I see even now, like, remember when I said that these moon relationships that are coming together, they're sussing each other out. I keep on seeing they're sussing each other out in relationality to their own energetic circles, or what it is they do, or what it is they spend their time upon. To see, I keep on seeing to see if there's room in their life for healthy partnership. Continuing to get clarification between our Five of Swords in its reversal in combination with our Temperance card in its upright. Ooh, we got that Sun card here in its reversal. So let's talk a little bit about this Sun card in its reversal that we're seeing. How do I describe this best? The energy, these are the Temperance relationships that are going through right now in relationality to the relationships, these Temperance relationships that are, how do I describe this best? These Temperance relationships that are coming through right now, I keep on hearing, it's like, I need to show this to you. I literally see these situations or circumstances saying to one another, I wasn't not telling you, I was sparing you the details, is what I keep on hearing. Right? And that's what I keep on seeing in relation. I told you there's a very kind of intriguing heart opening that's happening right now for some of those Temperance relationships, because I told you they very much work in terms of not overwhelming each other. So I almost see, like, I got to tell you right now, I almost see some kind of situations where these relationships, they went through some really hard stuff. Like, they went through some really, really hard stuff. But that's what I meant about these Temperance relationships. They say to each other, I go through the hard work so you don't have to. Like, I keep on hearing the energy say, I spare you the energetic details. And that's why I keep on hearing a lot of those relationships saying to one another, and finally coming into the space of being able to, like, have some kind of conversations, telling each other, like, how energetically bad something was. But I keep on seeing the energy say, I don't talk about it, not because I don't want to talk about it, it's because I don't want to dwell upon it. You know, like, I almost see the energy saying to one another, like, that's how they're working on the release. These Temperance relationships don't feel like the need to talk out. They don't feel the need to, like I keep wondering, they don't feel the need to linger on something that was energetically like, not positive. I keep on seeing, like, I keep on hearing it's interesting. The Temperance relationships are actually saying to one another, some things don't heal the more you talk about them, because there's no fixing them. It's just more sad, is what I keep on seeing, right? It's like, I keep on seeing, it's like, and I feel like that's often the shape of trauma. And that's what's so hard about trauma. This is why it's so hard to release some trauma. Talking about, like, once you understand some trauma, talking about the trauma often doesn't make it better. Sometimes it just makes it worse because you're centering it. So that's why I see the energy that says, I'm in a place where I see the energy saying, I'm in a place where I prefer not to talk about it. But the energy saying, I prefer not to talk about it in such a way. And this, I need to say, this is a nuanced message. It is not for everyone, because this is what they're saying, that this is a level of healing that they've reached, that I keep on hearing that they're good with it. They're like, they are good with it. They're good. I keep on hearing they are good with it. They understand it. I see the energy that's saying, I'm not looking at it. They're like, that's the shelf I put it on. Is what I keep on hearing. There's a difference. I told you it's going to be Uranus in Gemini, which means there's a difference between saying, I don't want to talk about it versus I don't like talking about it. And the difference is, I don't want to talk about it is I refuse to do the work about it, right? versus I don't like to talk about it, which is it's unpleasant to talk about and it doesn't fix it to talk about. It's just something that I prefer not to, like, it's the energy that almost says prefers not to unpack it because it's a mess. And that's the thing with, like I told you, like the thing with like the thing with trauma, it's like the messy box. You open it up, there's just more mess in there. You can't get to the bottom of it. It's just always messy. So the energy is just like, yes, I've healed enough that I'm not, it's the space by which I'm okay with that. But here, and what's interesting about it is this is the energy doing the opposite, saying, I'm finally ready to tell you more about it, is what I keep on seeing. Continuing, and this is why we talk about the fact that we can never tell each other what healing is, right? We can't say to each other, be good to talk about it. It's never good. You should never say that to someone. You should never tell someone, it'd be good to talk about it. No, that's not necessarily the case. Some things, it's good to heal from it. But sometimes healing is not the space by which you have to talk about it. It's the space by which we give each other the grace to navigate something the way we choose to do so, is what I keep on seeing. Continuing to get clarification. It's like salty energy today. Between our Temperance card and our Five of Pentacles in its upright. It's the come down from the eclipse. Yeah, the Ace of Wands. Ace of Wands. Ace of Wands in its upright. Ace of Wands in its upright for the energy that is moving deeper into divine union. I told you this is the baton. Look, this is all there. This is all it is to it. Look, this is they're having like a Saturn return moment because they're handing Saturn the baton, right? That's what happens when we see something and we know what's happening, but we can't energetically intervene. And I keep on seeing this is happening for a lot of those energetic relationships that are centering partnership, and they're seeing the distortion it's having in some of the relationships outside of partnership. They're handing the wand to Saturn because when you see those type of distortions in a moment of celebration, you know that you can't necessarily energetically affect it. You might even make it worse and not be able to fix. So there's a lot of that energy saying, you take that. I leave it to you. Continuing to get clarification between our Three of Cups in its upright and our Sun card in its reversal. We got the Strength card in its reversal. This is like, I mean, I'm going to say the same things that I always say. So we always have to, I always say this, I know how intense the eclipses are. I get worried for the time after the eclipses. Because especially with eclipses like this, you have to understand the energy was already going through a retrograde before the eclipse process. Now the eclipse process is waning. So now it's just retrograde again. So I want you to kind of recognize that, especially if you feel like, I would not be surprised if you feel, I'm going to keep on using the word ennui. We don't have an English word for it. It's like kind of like feeling a little down in the dumps for no apparent reason. It's like it's a little bit of like, it's like a little bit of that type of energy. Make sure that you're doing things that feel energetically supportive for the self. Make sure that you're recognizing and identifying what that work is. Make sure that you're effectively like recognizing and identifying how you're trying to do things and what the shape of the things that you're trying to do are. Because everything I keep on seeing in relationality to like a lot of this, I keep wondering, like a lot of this, I like to describe it as like like it's the decompression out of the eclipse energy, right? So I want you to understand, I don't want you to over internalize that decompress. Continuing to get clarification between our Sun card and the Ace of Wands in its upright. Ooh, there's that Nine of Wands and Nine of Swords in its upright. So how do I describe this best in relationality to the Nine of Swords in its upright? I want to kind of walk this through quickly for all of the energies that are going through this right now. There is a density point that we're effectively experiencing today. And remember how I said that this new moon was going to feel a lot like a full moon? We typically don't have a come down from a new moon. It usually feels like an accelerant. It usually feels like something we start to move up from. So this is I want to say this is a confusing new moon. You may feel a lot of complicated things through it because I told you that the space by which we are experiencing a new moon during the eclipse, like the eclipse happening, it's like the new moon happening in the space. It's the new moon that was happening in the space of where the full moon should be, right? It's like the full moon energy, the amplification, but then there's a new moon there. So sometimes, and that's why again, it's a little bit easier if you're doing your shadow work properly, or it's a little bit easier if you're working through a lot of that like internal space. But there's a lot of, I want to describe it as a lot of energetic contemplation, and I keep on seeing like working through the stillness of the energy, as it were, that it can, I keep on hearing it can feel frustrating, but also it can feel energetically stabilizing. So make sure that you're communicating upon that. And again, I keep on saying, for the most part, as long as one, like the one thing we always, and as long as you weren't being super reactive during the eclipse process, this should be like feeling like a little bit of a decompress. If you were more in a space, and this is why I was trying to warn you guys, like not to be emotionally reactive to something that was energetically small in the space of the retrograde, but being able to articulate upon it as it relates to like being able to like have a little bit of that easement. I keep on seeing it's communicating upon, like I keep on seeing like a lot of the energy that we're seeing right now is drawing upon how to effectively like like work like work through a little bit of this energetic uncomfortable, like it feels quiet is kind of the best way I can describe it. But the clarification between our strength card and the 9 of Swords and its upright is there's that 8 of Cups in its reversal. So the thing that we're seeing right now with the 8 of Cups in its reversal has to do, I keep on getting, it has to do with the space by which we articulate upon, like how to like, and I want to describe this. One of the things that we were seeing with a lot of the eclipse cycle right now was there's a lot of that deepening of comprehension, right? There's a lot of that expansion point. And so there's a lot of that space that we may, I want to describe that during the eclipse, it may have felt like there were a lot of things happening all at once, right? And it's hard to kind of like, I keep on hearing like feeling like kind of hard to get your head up around it. But that's why there's something about this type of energy that almost like creates a little bit of stillness. It allows for a little bit of like the space by which one is able to plan. Like this is the type of energy I would say is great for planning. It's great for communication. It's great for kind of like articulating upon things or doing something in a better fashion. So like allow that, like if you're feeling a lot of this density, take the density and let it move you into, I keep on hearing like density as sanctuary. And like density as sanctuary is like the quietude and the peace that allows you to like get your head down and work upon something, right? It's like it's like it can be productive energy as long as like you're working into a space of identifying what the energetic purpose is, right? So allow that. If you're feeling like, I want to say, if you're feeling like, if you're, and I'm going to say the same thing that I was saying when we were going through that eclipse process, or when we were going through a lot of that intensity. If things feel like they are low around you, don't match the vibration of low. Remember who you are. Like allow the reorientation of the self to center the self, because that is the space by which, again, it's not navigating the imperfectitude of a circumstance. It's understanding that when we encounter an energetic imperfection point, we can salve it. We can effectively be the salve upon it, right? That is how we are effectively able to heal. It's like it's looking at imperfectitude and bringing the energetic salve to it, which is the space by which we try to work into a better way. Bottom of the deck on today's reading, Queen of Swords in her upright. It's the same message. It's the same message that we've been getting for a while. Compassion is not about being nice about everything. Compassion is not about being nice about things. It's about communicating why you're not being energetic. Like it's the space, and I keep on saying it's the space by which we communicate why we're energetically bothered about something. And I keep on seeing, and one of the things that we understand too is that when we articulate upon our energetic feelings, and this is why I keep on seeing this, like we don't put our, we don't like when another person has made us feel like, when another, like, let's walk through this because this is complicated. When another person makes us feel energetically hurt, right? The space by which we articulate upon how we feel allows us the space by which something is able to be resolved. But this is also very difficult because when energy isn't in a healthy space, we also understand, and this is what we identify. This is why not everything is worthy of an energetic conversation. Because when energy is not in a healthy space, but they want to preserve connection, they'll do things with the intention of causing harm, understanding that attention supersedes intention, right? That's often what we find with like unhealed energy. It's the space by which we understand that often another may try to energetically hurt us for attention. But this is why I keep on hearing, like when we work through a space of maturation, this is why we often talk about the fact that not everything is worthy of conversation. Because the space by which we identify the difference between productive conversation, which is the space by which another person tells us how they feel in order to do something in a better way, that is restorative. But when we notice an energetic pattern of someone that does not articulate upon how they feel, but instead tries to react to get us to feel energetically hurt, so then they feel the energetic control and being able to have a conversation where it feels like they're navigating our emotions, then often those are the spaces by which we build upon separation, because it's the understanding that what we mean, like when we're being energetically mindful, not only do we understand and recognize how we feel, but we are attentive to not creating those energetic wounds. And everything is proportional, which is, again, it's the space by understanding, and often the way we can vibrate upon understanding what our standards are. And this is most important. It's not too much to ask, which is if you're asking something from someone that you yourself would not necessarily do, then that is often a sign that your standards are too high, right? If you're asking something from another person that you yourself would not energetically embody, then that is too much to ask. But when there's the observation of something that you yourself would be willing to give the self, or willing or gladly able to give to another, and another person is not energetically matching it, this is often why we come into separation with those we identify as not holding our energetic standards. Because the space by which we understand, we never feel like we should be in a space of having to defend our standards. Rather so we would rather have them honored. So I keep on seeing like that's a lot of the vibration that we're having here. It's working through the nuance of standards versus the difference between working in a virtuous way, which is the ability of trying to do the best that you can and articulating to others when they're not able, like when we feel that we're falling short, versus being energetically reactive to effectively cause an effect when we feel that our standards are not being held. One is okay. It's okay to energetically separate from someone we don't feel is holding our standards. But what's not okay is to cause injury to another, to punish them for not even potentially recognizing that they are there. So and this is why I was saying, like, even in the space of talking about the difference between compassion and dispassion, we're going to talk a lot about this in the space by which we're going through this Uranus in retrograde. It's the ability to tell the difference. That is what brings us into energetic and spiritual maturity. That is where we find all of the energy prior to. That is our daily collective read for today. I want to thank all of you for being here and experiencing it. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a private reading with me, you can book one on my site. Please keep in mind, if you book a private reading with me, it is a 2-step process. You have to book the reading and you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you would like to have that reading. Most importantly, please remember that I will never, ever, 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 ever reach out to you for a private reading. I will never DM you. I will never PM you. I will never slide into your inbox and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my site, so I would encourage you to do it there. Also, a couple of updates before we move into personal readings today. First and foremost, thank you to everyone who attended our recent class on the star card. It was such a delight to be able to go over that classwork with you. Our next class will be held on Wednesday, October 15th at 6 p.m. PST, 9 p.m. Eastern. We will be continuing our studies into the tarot with a focus on the moon card. If you would like to become a part of that tarot class program, all you need to do is head on over to my stack and become a paid subscriber. Your paid subscription to my stack is your ticket of entry into our live classes each and every month. You will also, as a paid subscriber, have access to over 9 hours worth of material in the Tarot Church Library Class Archive. It's not necessary to catch up. I'll be doing my best to give you an update on everything that we've been studying prior to having that class start. But now is a great time to join if you wanted to catch up, because you've got about a month. You can take as many of those classes that you're interested in taking. You'll also have access to a one-on-one chat with me and the other students to ask any questions that you may have in relation to anything we've learned and studied thus far. And if you become a founding member, not only will you receive a discount on the whole year's worth of classes, but you will also receive a complimentary one-on-one mentorship class with me, where I will meet with you personally to assess where you are on your own personal tarot journey and give you the best insights in terms of how to utilize those classes to the best of your advantage going towards your tarot goals going forward. One of the things I tried to do in these classes was make them accessible to the absolute novice tarot reader as well as the seasoned reader. There's definitely something there for everyone. Don't let your lack of experience or your robust experience prevent you from joining us in these classes. And even if you don't become a paid subscriber to my stack, I would encourage you to follow me there to stay up to date on any new offerings or services. I also post my weekly newsletter there, which will let you know about my in-person events as well as my online live schedule. I also want to let you guys know that on top of my standard life path readings, I also offer mentorship classes. These are for any of my students seeking a more personalized educational experience with me. I take a very limited number of students for this reason, as those classes are focused on each individual's personal spiritual goals and journey work. Those classes can be purchased on an individual level or as a monthly class series, weekly or bi-weekly as your schedule permits. Also, for my students seeking more consistent weekly tarot support, I'm very happy to offer weekly tarot insight packages. That is a package of 4 30-minute readings, again, weekly or bi-weekly as your schedule permits, so that you can stay more consistent on your personal journey. I'm also very happy to offer dream interpretation readings now, which you can purchase per dream or as a series. If you purchase the series, I would encourage you to keep a dream journal, as we will meet weekly or bi-weekly with that journal and utilize the tarot to understand the key themes and messages coming towards you in the dream space. I want to thank you guys so much for being here today and sharing in these messages, and we will do this again